Welcome, curious minds, to another deep dive. Today we're plunging into something that feels, well, incredibly relevant right now. It's about how to cultivate real inner peace, and also how to extend genuine goodwill to pretty much everyone. We're talking about something deeper than just being polite, drawing on some pretty profound ancient wisdom. Our source today is a classic Buddhist text, the Mettasutta. Now, metta, it often gets translated as loving kindness or maybe boundless goodwill, something like that. But this isn't just philosophy, is it? It's framed as a really practical guide. And our mission really is to pull out the surprising, actionable bits that can help you navigate, this complex world with a bit more compassion and maybe more well-being for yourself, too.
Absolutely. What's so interesting, I think, is how direct it is, how actionable. It doesn't just paint a picture of a nice idea. It actually outlines the qualities of mind, the character traits that enable this connection, this peace. It gives you a path.
Okay, so let's unpack that. Before we even get to sending kindness out everywhere, the Mettasutta says, essentially, get your own house in order first. It lists these foundational qualities needed for what it calls the state of peace. This is in verses 143, 144. Things like being capable, upright, perfectly upright, obedient, gentle, humble. Those seem fairly standard, maybe. But then it adds these others. Contented, easily supported, having few duties, light in living, senses calmed, prudent, modest. And this one really jumped out at me. Not clinging to families. Why that one? Why is not clinging even to family important for universal peace?
That's a great point to pick up on. It's not about being cold or abandoning people you care about. Not at all. It's more about recognizing how even our deepest attachments, the ones we cherish most, can sometimes unconsciously create bias. They can narrow our circle. So by sort of loosening the grip of those really exclusive emotional ties, you actually free up capacity, your capacity for genuine, unbiased goodwill towards everyone, not just your inner circle. The Sutta is basically saying, look, to be truly open to all beings, you need a stable mind first, one that isn't constantly agitated by craving or pride or these really tight, exclusive attachments.
Okay, that makes sense. Like you need a steady base to operate from before you can really extend outwards effectively. So once that foundation is there, or at least you're working on it, the Mettasutta gives us its core aspiration, verse 145. May all beings be happy and secure. May they be happy in mind. It sounds so simple, beautiful but simple. What's the real power behind that wish?
Well, the power partly lies in that word all. It prompts the question, what does all beings actually mean here? And the text in the next verses, 146 and 147, leaves absolutely no room for doubt. It gets incredibly specific. It says all beings without any exception, whether they're weak, trembling, or strong and firm, long, large, medium-sized, short, small, stout.
Wow, it really covers the spectrum.
Completely, seen or unseen, living far away or nearby, those already born, or even those yet to be born, seeking birth. The surprise isn't just how inclusive it is, it's the challenge, right? To extend that same goodwill, that same wish for happiness and security, even to beings you might find difficult, or dislike, or fundamentally disagree with.
Yeah.
It's this radical inclusivity that really pushes against our natural tendency to categorize, to create us and them.
Okay, so it's about actively wishing well. But you mentioned it's also about what not to do, almost like clearing the path. Verse 148 seems to cover this. It lists things that block this boundless kindness. It says, do not deceive another. Okay, do not despise anyone anywhere. That's a big one. And out of resentment or aversion, do not wish suffering upon one another. Now that sounds good, but in a world with so much conflict, so many strong opinions, how practical is that? Does it mean you can't feel anger? Or is it about not acting on it, not wishing harm?
That's a really important distinction, I think. It reinforces that cultivating this metta isn't just adding a positive layer. It's also about actively dismantling the negative stuff, the things that get in the way, the hindrances. It's like you have to work on the internal architecture of ill will. Recognize how our own minds build these barriers. So it's less about suppressing an emotion like anger, perhaps, and more about choosing not to let resentment or aversion be the driver. Not letting them dictate your actions or your wishes for others. It's an active letting go of the impulse to harm.
Okay, actively letting go. That makes sense. And then to help us really get the intensity, the quality of this mindset, the text uses this incredibly powerful analogy. Verse 149, it says, like a mother protecting her only child with her life, cultivate an immeasurable mind towards all beings.
Wow. Yeah, that one is potent, isn't it? The sheer force of that comparison, the mother-child bond. It's universally understood as maybe the deepest, most unconditional, most fiercely protective love we know. So the sutta isn't suggesting just a gentle, passive fondness here. It's asking for that level of commitment, that fierce, protective, almost all-consuming intensity of a mother's love.
Not for everyone.
But directed outwards. infinitely, to every single living being.
That's new.
It's a profound recalibration. It suggests this radical commitment to the well-being of all, as if their safety, their happiness was as vital as that of your own single precious child.
That really changes the flavor of loving kindness, doesn't it? It makes it much more active, more powerful. So, okay, how do we actually do this? What does the practice look like day to day?
Verse 150 gives us the instruction. It says to cultivate immeasurable loving kindness, metta, throughout the entire world. And then it specifies. Upwards, downwards, and across, unhindered, without hatred, without enmity, spatially in all directions.
Exactly. And crucially, it's not just a quick 5-minute thing you do and then forget.
Yeah.
Verse 151 stresses the consistency, the continuity. It says you should maintain this state standing, walking, sitting, or lying down as long as one is free from drowsiness. Basically all your waking moments.
All the time.
That's the ideal presented. This continuous cultivation, this mindfulness, is called the divine abiding. In Pali, Brahma itavihara, and that word Braham itself suggests something vast, sublime, almost divine. It signals this isn't just a mundane practice, it's aiming for a profound state of being, something you integrate fully into life, making it this constant background presence. A divine abiding. That is definitely a high bar.
Yeah.
Continuous cultivation. So finally, what's the payoff? What are the ultimate results, the outcomes, for someone who really practices this, who embodies this boundless metta? Verse 152 seems to offer a glimpse.
Right. And the implication, connecting it to the broader picture of this path, is pretty profound. It's not just about feeling a bit calmer day to day, though that's likely part of it. The text promises a fundamental transformation. It says someone practicing this way won't fall into wrong views. They'll become virtuous, gain insight, see things more clearly. And then, having overcome craving, especially for sensual pleasures, the text states quite remarkably that such a person does not return to rebirth.
Wow. Liberation.
Exactly. It points to the ultimate liberative potential of this path. That embodying this boundless kindness coupled with wisdom can actually free one from the entire cycle of suffering. It fundamentally changes your relationship with existence itself.
So this deep dive into the Mettasutta, it really shows a path that's, well, both timeless and pretty radical, isn't it? It's so much more than just being nice or wishing people well passively. It's about actively cultivating specific inner strengths, deliberately removing the internal barriers like resentment, and then consistently, constantly training the mind, training it to embody this huge, limitless goodwill that, as the text suggests, can literally transform your whole experience.
It really can. And that leaves us with a really interesting question for you, the listener, to maybe reflect on. In your own life, dealing with all the stresses, the divisions, the judgments we encounter, how might intentionally cultivating this kind of immeasurable mind, even just for brief moments throughout your day, and directing it towards all beings, especially the difficult ones, not just the easy ones, how might that actually change things? How might it shift your own interactions, maybe your community, certainly your own sense of well-being? What could the ripple effects be starting right now just from that shift in intention?